Hi guys, how are you doing? Today I'm going to talk about a very interesting topic. This is the topic of subnetting, the way of obviously splitting a subnet into smaller pieces. How does it work? What are the different options? What are the principles and what is the history of subnetting? Basically, what we need to know is the two main different principles. This is the CLASSFUL and the CIDER. Those are the two main principles of organizing the so-called like portions of like networks. So the first thing you need to know about classful is that it's old. You know, they're old. The classful option, it's old. The IPv4 classes don't exist anymore. The classes have been taken down in 1993, all right? It's no longer existent. It's old. Uh, people know about it, but nobody really uses it anymore, okay? So this is like something that remained from the past. And what is the reason of this? What is the reason of this classful method um, being, obsolete? And the main reason is the waste of IP addresses. And you would say, what do you mean by waste of IP addresses? Like, what does it even mean? Like, um, why do we waste IP addresses? So I will quickly explain it in a very in very simple terms so you understand. Basically, what we're talking about here is the classful method is dealing with three major, groups or types of or classes of IP addresses. Uh, Class A, this has this um, subnet mask. Class B has this subnet mask, and Class C has this subnet mask. Okay, you obviously see that Class A has a lot more, has the most IP addresses that it can um, accommodate. Class B less, and Class C has very few. So let's go to the next slide and see what do I mean by this? What do I mean by this figures? So um, Class A um, network um, can accommodate approximately 17 million IP addresses. 17 million. Class B can accommodate 65,000, and Class C can accommodate 256 IP addresses. You see the jumps, you see the difference between the different classes. They're huge, you know. If you need like 205, 258 IP addresses, you receive um, the next network. You jump to the next class, which is class B, and you get 65,000 IP addresses, or if you precisely 65,536 IP addresses. So if you need a little more, like let's say you need 70 or 80,000 IP addresses, you get 17 million. You see like 16 point whatever million IP addresses get wasted in that sense, you know? So this is a huge waste of IP addresses. And so they decided not to work with these classes because if you're not within class C, you have to go to class B, and there is nothing in between. If you're not within class B, you have to suddenly go to class A, and there is nothing in between. You know, you have to jump from 65,000 to 17 million, so which is a huge jump, and nobody wants that. You want a more, like gradual increase to be more flexible and not to waste that huge number of IP addresses in the end. That's the point of this classful, um, idea uh, being obsolete and not being used anymore. It's just old and not efficient, and it's just not working. So let's go to CIDER, the so-called CIDER routing. This is classless interdomain routing. That means the IP assignments are not limited to these three classes. We have two more options um, of this. When we talk about CIDER, we have two more options, and we can go to FLSM or VLSM. Those are the two options, okay? But we're going to talk about this later. Let's talk about the classless interdomain routing. Classless routing. That means you don't have the classes anymore. Well, that's not entirely true because you see that's classful. That's the three. It's very simple. That's the three classes. Class A, 16,777,214. Class B, 65,532. Um, and Class C, 500, 254 IP addresses. Those are the three options. You don't have any more options. And these are these are the classless interdomain routing. You have like you're not working with the three classes anymore, /8, /16, /24, but you're rather working like with /8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and so on until 32. Those are the classes basically. So technically, it's not a classless interdomain routing. It's not classless routing because technically you see if we're talking about /8 being class A and /16 being class B, we can actually split those those groups into smaller classes, but they're still classes. And I did this experiment right here to give them like class um, letters to describe them. So you have like A, B, C, D, E. So you end up having the whole alphabet here. So there's still classes, just a lot more classes, but technically it's still class full.